Hey lovelies, welcome to my channel. If we haven't met, I'm Kelly and I'm a professional hair and makeup artist, and here on YouTube, I'm looking to keep beauty real. Real honest, real relatable, and real fun. So let's get into what I'm gonna be reviewing today, and that is the Tiny Marbles palette. I'm sure you guys have seen this all over the YouTube platform and Instagram and probably anywhere where you've seen beauty enthusiasts because this palette has been so hot. This is a collaboration between MEL Thompson and Sydney Grace. This is also the channel where someone is always either leaf blowing or weed whacking in the background. So if you enjoy that, click subscribe and don't forget to hit the like button. So I have to say, I am so incredibly excited to have my hands on this palette because Sydney Grace is probably my most exciting find of 2020. I actually had heard about the company earlier in the year, and finding indie brands that have amazing products is super exciting. And so when the Christmas and July sale was happening, I did not one, not two, but 3 orders and truly fell in love with everything I got. So I was just really kind of delving into the eyeshadows especially. And then when I saw MEL was launching a palette with the company, I was like, okay, well, done. Like, done, sign me up. I probably didn't even need to see what was inside the palette, and I knew that I would probably really enjoy it. But we are gonna be looking at what's inside the palette. And as you can see, I do have 2 different looks on my eyes, both using this palette. Now, this one will be on my Instagram account at Keep Beauty Real, and this one is the one we will be showing today. I'm gonna give you my thoughts on the palette, we'll do some swatches, and you'll be able to see how I created this look. So we do have a lot of info to cover, so let's get right into it. Now, to get into some of the details on this palette, it is $52 and it is currently out of stock on the Sydney Grace website, but you can pre-order for their restock. Now this has 15 shades, each having 2 grams of product, so that gives you 30 grams of product. So if you watched my channel before, you know I love to talk about cost per ounce or cost per gram in this case, and so I wanted to let you know that this palette comes out to $1.73 per gram, which is an incredible steal, and especially, in all honesty, for the amazing Sydney Grace quality formula. You can also get 15% off of this palette by using MEL's code, which I will link below with the Sydney Grace website. Now, if you want to know in-depth details on the inspiration for the palette, I will also link MEL's video where she talked about the launch of this palette, just because I think it's always really awesome to hear from the creator of something, because you really get to see their true heart and soul pouring out into this. But just a little backstory, MEL is really into tiny critters. So this little Tiny Marbles, it has all of the bugs that she loves on it. She also is a big tattoo fan. And so I love the juxtaposition that this has of the beauty world of you think maybe glam, which I think MEL is so incredibly glamorous. She's gorgeous. She does such amazing looks. But you've also got a little funk here. I really love it. And the thing that I thought was so awesome is she had her tattoo artist design this palette cover. And I think it's great because it's really artists supporting artists. So I thought that was super awesome. Now, I think it's cute that all of these colors have names that are really inspired by bugs and critters. So you've got things like web, tree hopper, firebutts, walking stick, mantis, and there is only 1 duplicated shade in this palette, and it is Scarab. And that Scarab shade is one that I already have in my collection. It is Red Chameleon in the normal single shadows. I'm not really mad at that though, because it is a beautiful transformative shade, and actually later in the video I'll show you a couple ways to really play with that color. So it is a lot of fun to work with, and I'm not mad that I have 2 of them. Why don't we get into the swatches so you can see these beautiful shades. Okay, so I'm not really the greatest swatcher in the world. I tried for you guys. I mean, I think that these are super pretty. Wow, look at the difference. I started out strong and really went weak, but I don't think I've ever swatched with my left hand before. Anyway, I can tell you guys, if you see anything that looks patchy, it was just my swatch job. I gotta get working on that. These ones down here, this was the worst swatch of all time. I should be fired from YouTube. if I was getting paid, but I'm not. So what I can tell you about this palette is the formulas in this are just as good as the original Sydney Grace singles if you've ever used any of those. And I will say that this formula is a bit of a softer formula, which, you know, I personally think a lot of times when you have a lot of pigment in a shadow, that's going to happen. You're going to end up having a little bit more kick up in the pan, which to me, it doesn't really bother me, but I know some people have mentioned that. And you'll find that it might be a more delicate palette. So, you know, it's not one you want to like toss across the room. Now, I will say that because these Sydney Grace shadows are so metallic, if you are someone that has very, very oily lids, you will probably want to put down a primer. The fact that you're going to get such a high gloss metallic finish from some of these shadows also means that they could tend to lead towards creasing on some people. I certainly haven't had that problem at all. So I just want to mention that if you do have oily lids, you may want to lay down a primer. Now, when I do my shadow, it's very rare that I wear a primer anymore, honestly, just because I'm lazy and I just like to have my lids concealed. So I just usually lay down my concealer and I don't have any problems. I will also say that these shadows all blend really beautifully. I don't find that there's like a lot of skipping or blotchiness. So to me, especially at the price point, I mean, Sydney Grace shadows are definitely hands down one of my favorite shadow formulas of all time now. And I can completely say that with full confidence. And I really think that this palette has so many options. You have 5 super metallic shadows. I don't know what I would call this one here. I mean, it does come off like crazy reflective, but it doesn't quite have the same feel, if that makes any sense, but it's still very, very high shimmer. And then you do have 9 beautiful mattes. So I do also think that for most people, it's going to be great that Mel chose to go with Spider, which is this like dark chocolatey brown versus a black, because I think for the average user, it's going to be a little less intimidating than a true black color. Now, that being said, I do love a good black shadow, but good thing I have the Wayne Goss Luxury Eye Palette to be able to partner with this. If you guys saw that review, I was saying that I think that the combo of those 2 palettes is going to be awesome. Now, I'm going to go ahead and hop into this look. I do also want to let you know that tomorrow, which will be Sunday, I am doing a collab with my friend here on YouTube, Beauty and The Frizz. Beautiful Miss Cara is going to be doing palette bingo with me. And so we are each going to be randomly drawing out 4 shades to use in this palette to be able to create a look. I just drew my shades before I filmed this video because I wanted to make sure that, you know, it would be something like different than what I'd show you for this one. And it's going to be an interesting one. It's definitely going to push me out of my comfort zone. So let's go ahead and hop into this look and then I'll give you guys my final thoughts. All right, so here you guys can see the final looks. If you want a little bit of detail on what's on this side, you can go ahead and check out my Instagram account. That again is Keep Beauty Real. And again, just to kind of like go over the details on this look, first I went through with Mantis, and that is that like really pretty, kind of like an electric mint shade, I think. And I laid that down first, and I really haven't seen, maybe they have, but I haven't seen many people do this where you're like layering up these shadows to kind of create different colors. Like I know a lot of people have used that scarab shade, which is what I actually put over the top, but most people are just using it on its own. And I think you can actually really play with that color over the top of a few of the shades in this palette. And maybe I'll give you guys a peek on that because really, like, because that scarab shade is so reflective, you're gonna have some really awesome options to be able to transform other colors in this palette. So then once I had that mantis laid down, I did go through with Scarab over the top. I started out with a brush, but I did decide to go ahead and go through with my finger. Even though you guys know I am team no fingers, I did go through with my finger and pack that on the top, and then just used a brush to kind of like smooth it out. Then I did take Fire Butts and just popped it into the inner corner. I think that that looks really good with this color combo. And the only other shade that I used was Walk and Stick, which is that kind of like greeny or brown. I think that that really kind of like works as that perfect kind of like little grungy transition. So I'm very much so loving this. So why don't I go ahead, I'm going to pop a couple colors here on my hand to show you what Scarab could do over the top of them. So I'm gonna do that real quick. All right, so I zoomed out just a little bit so that we have a little more like working room in the frame. But if you think about a duochrome shade, and you have to think about the shifts that it has. So if you lay down a color that is one of those shifts, that other color is gonna pop out more. So like for instance, Scarab is more of a blue, green to red shift. So I'll pull that up here so you guys can see it does have like a little bit, let me pop that here in front of my face. There we go. So you see that like blue-green, but then when I tilt it this way, you can see more of that red shift. So if I put it over a red shade, you're going to see more of the green. But if I put it over a green, you're gonna end up seeing a little bit more of that like mahogany or red shade. So if you can see there, you're just gonna get a very different look from those. Now, I didn't pack Scarab on over the top of my mantis on my eye quite this much. I just wanted a little bit of that shift. So I'm gonna just blend this out a little bit so that you can see that. So you're gonna get much more of that blue-green coming out over the top of Bugaboo. And that is like one of my favorite things to do, is just play with duochromes over the top of other colors. So hopefully that's a little helpful to you guys, just a little tip. Why don't I go ahead and finish up my face? So I do have a couple other products from Sydney Grace I'm gonna be using on my face, and I just wanted to share those with you guys. So I'm gonna be using Belle of Georgia. I think this peach blush will go like really nicely. It's like a dusty mauve peach. And then we have Sweet Peach, which will be the loose highlighter that I use. So I'm just gonna finish that up quick and come back to show you guys, but this way you can kind of know what I've used. All right, guys, here is our final looks. So as you can see, I do have that blush on. It maybe isn't picking up on camera quite as much, but it's a beautiful, like, kind of like dusty peachy pink, and then that loose highlight, and that one was the Sweet Peach shade. So very, very intense. I do also have a little bit on my Cupid's bow as well, and I was really excited because I don't have any Sydney Grace like lip items, although after I saw Yachty use that lip gloss on her review of the Tiny Marvels palette, I was like, oh, they look so, so good. So that will probably be going on my next Sydney Grace order. But I went through with my new Colored Rain lipstick from the Trend Mood Black Owned Business Box. So this is the shade Whipped from Colored Rain. And if you guys haven't checked that out, by the way, I am doing a giveaway. So you should head over. I will link it up here for you guys. I am very excited to be giving away one of those Trend Mood boxes to a subscriber. And then I just topped the lipstick with a little bit of the Kopari Lip Glossy. So just for a little bit of shine. But honestly, guys, I mean, like I said at the beginning of this video, this palette really gives you so many options. And I think sometimes you can't see them all until you really start playing with it. So I hope, you know, this was kind of helpful to you guys to get to see two looks. And please, if you can, check out the videos that Cara from Beauty and The Frizz and I are doing tomorrow with our palette bingo, because I think that, like I said, sometimes you don't know what you can create until you kind of like go out of your comfort zone. So, you know, the fact that we're having to use colors that we didn't exactly choose for ourselves. I mean, we literally did pick them, but it's not like we went in and chose those ones to go together. So it'll be fun to see what we create. And Mel, congratulations on this palette again. I mean, how exciting. Like, I think it's amazing that a great company like Sydney Grace is who you were able to pair with for this collaboration. I am definitely going to be using this palette a lot. It's something that I know that I will get a ton of use out of. And as someone who, you know, is spending her own money on makeup, I think that that's, you know, a valuable thing, is knowing, yes, I will be able to use this a lot for really dramatic looks and for soft looks and for something with a pop of color. So if you are someone that's looking at this palette and is maybe a little intimidated by a couple of these shades, just know that you could use them as like mixing mediums to make something that's a little bit different, like maybe taking Mantis and adding it to a brown to create more of like that like khaki color. Like that's almost what ended up being created within my crease, or taking this shade here and adding it with something to, you know, soften it out a little bit. So I think that this really has a ton of potential. I can't wait to continue playing with it. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Mel, I'm so proud of you. Thank you for being such an amazing part of this beauty community. And to all of you who haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Click that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, and I'll see you really soon.